Peace be upon you. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, I am very happy to meet you and very grateful to God for our experience of Week of Unity and Wings of Unity, and also the time we spent together last night with the whole inhabitants of Lopiano. My theme is the School of God. As I mentioned briefly last night, we had a very good meeting, which became for me a historical meeting with some priests of the movement in Vinamia in February 2015. And one of them asked me about my relation and my assessment of Focolare, and I explained to him things that helped me myself better understand our relation and significance of our relation, significance of the spirituality of Focolare. And I kept referring back to those points many, many times from 2015. One of the points that I mentioned to them from an Islamic perspective was that I said God has sent different prophets and messengers to different parts of the world, to different nations, and they spoke different languages because every prophet spoke with the same language of people. Prophets never used interpreters. They were from people and spoke their language. So they addressed similar issues and they addressed specific issues of that nation at that point in time. When these teachings were passed on with different language, with different conceptual and cultural framework, then we thought we have different religions. We thought each prophet or each messenger, for example, at least those famous ones, for example, brought a new religion. This is very common mistake that people make, that they think, for example, Islam is a new religion founded by Prophet Muhammad, Christianity is a new religion founded by Jesus, Judaism, for example, founded by Moses. But this is not right understanding. God has only sent one religion, one message, one way of life. If prophets spoke different languages and addressed different nations, it doesn't mean that God has sent many religions. How can God send many religions? How can one God send different messages? God never redoes what he has done. I have not come across anything that suggests Moses said, I have brought a new religion. Everything before is cancelled. Or Jesus saying, I have brought a new religion, everything before is cancelled. Or Prophet Muhammad saying, I brought a new religion, anything is cancelled. None of them introduced themselves as a founder of a new religion. So I said to the priest that our situation is that we have inherited these traditions, and we think there are different schools. We belong to a school of Islam or a school of Christianity or a school of Judaism. We think like this. But in the end of time, there would be only one school. And that school is not any of these particular schools. It's not that any of these is going to, win over all others. In the end of time, we would have only a school of God. All these partitions will go away, and we realize that it was actually one school. God was at work educating his people in Islam and in Judaism and Christianity, but we thought we belonged to different schools. There is no separation, no discrimination inside the school of God. So this is what I said in 2015. And many times I mentioned this, but it didn't develop till June this year, 2025, when we are here for the 14th round of Wings of Unity. Wings of Unity, for some of you who are not familiar, is a project that we started with Professor Pirakoda. We made the Pact of Love, and then we started with some of the professors here, like Benny, Roberto, also Rita from the Center for Interdialogue, my wife, Shahnaz, Isra, and sometimes other people. So the idea of Wings of Unity, which started in 2016, 1 year after that meeting with the priest, was that we come together to think together, to share our resources, and then invite God to guide us, to talk to us, without saying, God, please tell me what you want, and then I tell the Christians. Or tell me what you want, I tell the Muslims. We shouldn't make any condition for God. We just invite God to talk to us. It's up to him to choose. In other words, the philosophy behind Wings of Unity was that after about 18, 19 years of dialogue and friendship with Focolare, we reached a point that we wanted to listen together to God. This is more than dialogue. When you have dialogue, you speak to someone from another faith, another tradition, even if it's very honest, very genuine, but still two people are talking to each other. Yeah, there are two sides, but we reached the point of unity. We made the pact of love. And then we were able to talk to each other, but being at the same time silenced. So we were talking to each other, but we were trying to ask God to take and lead our conversation further. So it's listening to God together instead of talking to each other. And I have to say, and maybe you agree with me, that quite often we Muslims and Christians and Jews, we speak on behalf of God, and we don't let God to speak. Many times we say, this is what God wants, this is what God wants. Let God speak himself. God doesn't need me and you say, what he wants to say. So we try to be humble, silence ourselves, and let God speak. It's up to him. He can speak through a Muslim mouth or through a Christian mouth or any mouth. Outside our group, inside our group, it doesn't matter. Maybe when I am coming here, on the way, God inspires me. Maybe He inspires me here. I just want to get guidance from God. It doesn't matter where it comes, how it comes, through which mouth it comes, it doesn't matter. So, this is Wings of Unity. So, Wings of Unity started 2016, and by June this year, we had 14 rounds of Wings of Unity, thanks to God. So normally we try to meet every year twice, but we had gap of COVID. So in that 14th round in June, our topic was a school of God. So we wanted to understand this better. So this idea, which was in my mind from 2015, February 2015, I had chance to revisit and also to listen to our Focolare brothers about their perspective on the School of God. And Piero gave very good presentation about the School of God, teachings of the church, teachings of Chiara about the School of God. And then we had Isra had a very good presentation. And then I had my presentation. So, in that day, it became very clear for us that this idea of the school of God is very central for both of us. It's very central in charisma of unity of Focolare, and it's very central for what we understand from the Quran as God's plan for our education. And then I went to Kenya from here, and in Mariapolis, Piero, also I talked about the School of God, and it was very well received. Then in September in Mariapolis, Ginetta, we had a School of Unity for the youths, and also over there I shared, and we had very, very good response in Brazil. Then we kept discussing, and thanks to God, we managed to prepare, just before I came, a book based on my 2 lectures, one in Sophia, one in Mariapolis, Piero. So those who read English, I can give you a copy after if we have enough copies. So, what is this idea of the School of God? I ask God for His guidance and support, and trusting the unity that is between us. I just try to share with you some points. I cannot do justice, and I first admit that this is a very big project, a very big topic. I'm just sharing with you a few points. Also, what I'm saying is with reference to the Quran. I use Islamic theology and spirituality as my basis, but at the same time, I think this is universal. You can tell me afterwards, because whenever I talk, people say it's the same way we think. So don't be distracted by Arabic terms or Quranic or Islamic concepts. Go deeper, and you see it's the same thing as your theology and spirituality. So, first of all, we are sure that God is a teacher. God is educator. God is our prime teacher. The Quran very clearly says that God has taught mankind. Sometimes this is explained in a general way, and sometimes about particular cases. For example, sometimes God says God taught Adam all the names, all the facts. God taught Jesus the book and wisdom. God taught Prophet Muhammad. So this is a specific act of teaching. But God also says that He has taught all mankind. For example, in chapter Ar-Rahman, God says, God taught the book, created mankind, and taught how to communicate. It's very interesting. Chronologically, God should say God created and then taught the book and taught the way to communicate. But teaching is so important that God says first, He taught the book, then He says He created, and then He says He taught how to communicate. So, twice emphasis is put on teaching and once on creating. So if someone asks me which one is more important, creation of God or teaching of God, I say teaching of God is more important than creation of God. Because had it not been that He wanted to guide us, there was no point in creating us. It's not that God created us and then said, okay, let's keep them busy, so now we have to educate them. No, He created us because He had a plan for educating us, for guiding us. Yeah? It's not that you make a school and then you say, okay, now let's, have a curriculum and teachers and students. First, you have a plan for education and then you build appropriate building as a school. So, God's act of teaching and guiding is coming as this other side of the same coin of creation. So creation and guidance come together, but this one is actually more important. So many times in the Quran, creation and guidance come together. But guidance is more important than creation, although creation precedes guidance in time, but not in order, not in significance. So, God is a teacher. He's the perfect teacher. Prophets were also teachers. Our prophet said, God has sent me as a teacher. بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا or بِالتَّعْلِيمِ أُرْسِلْتُ. God has sent me to teach. So if you want to describe the prophet with one word, you say he was a teacher. You may say he was also a leader. Yes, but all goes under teaching because their leadership is also through teaching. Everything is summarized in being teacher. So, all the books, all the scriptures that God has sent throughout the history are also manuals, textbooks for this educational program. And the whole world is a school. We should not think only certain institutions are schools for God. For example, when there is a seminary, it's a school of God. Or when there is a university, it's a school of God only. Or a church or mosque which run educational programs, or in their sermons they give educational lessons. These are the only schools. No, the whole world is a school. And the only way you would be really benefiting from your presence in this world if you look at yourself as a learner and look at God as a teacher. If I go to a school and then think this is a place for playing, or gambling or socializing. So I am not really benefiting from that school, or I benefit very little. The only way to benefit from a school is when you know that this is made for teaching and learning. And you know that you are there as a learner or as a teacher who is at the same time learner. Because in the school of God, one of the points that we have to remember is that apart from God, every teacher is a learner as well. It's only God who is just teacher. Even prophets and messengers are learners. Even saints are learners. Okay? So, if I am a good teacher in the school of God, which is a great honor that I don't know we will be having this honor to be accepted by God as a teacher in a school, there is one test among other tests. Are you looking at yourself just as a teacher or as a learner and teacher? If you say, I have already finished my studies, I am just a teacher, so sorry, you are not in the school of God. Because there is no way to be satisfied with your limited knowledge. If you are connected with God, you always want more. God says to the prophet, قُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. My Lord, please increase my knowledge. So there is no point of satisfaction. So everyone apart from God is a learner and teacher. So in the school of God, you must always be ready for learning. Another point in the school of God is that it has no age limit. From the very early age, maybe even from the time you are in burial, you will start learning. But at least after birth, you are starting learning. Up to the time you are put in the cradle, you are learning. من المهد إلى اللحد. So always learning. There is no point of graduation altogether. Yes, you can graduate from one point and start another. The Quran says, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. When you finish, start the next one. We never retire or graduate 100%. Just one phase completes to go to another phase. Another thing about the school of God is it has no holidays. Absolutely no holidays. Because as long as you are awake, as long as you are conscious, you can learn. And you can be tested. You think when I am in the school or in the seminary or university, these are serious, teaching, but then I'm at home. Or for example, now it's weekend or it's, summer holidays. But in the school of God, there is no holiday. Day and night, summer and winter, 7 days a week, 24 hours. Maybe you are awake in the middle of night. That is the time for learning. That's the time for test. So there is no holidays. And also, what you think is my serious part of studies, that actually be the easiest part of your studies. For example, I go to seminary, okay? So I say, I have come to seminary, and this is where I want to really learn everything. Maybe I take 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours lesson every day. And I think this is very important part. Then I have to go, for example, home. I have to, stand in queue, buy bread, etc. I think these are waste of time. Or these are necessities of life. Or this is my personal life. But my education is in the classroom when I'm meeting my professor. Or when I'm in library. But that is definitely part of your education. But the serious part of education is not necessarily in front of teacher and whiteboard. It can be when you are in the shop buying something, or when you are walking on the street, or when you are at home. God never tells you when He is giving you the most important lessons. He never tells you, I give you the most important lessons in this time or in this place. Even He doesn't say, I give you the most important lessons with this text. God wants us to be always alert and conscious and receptive. So alertness is very important. And what you think might be your serious education can you actually very easy part of it. Sometimes I say to people that, for example, if I am in seminary, okay, in seminary what I am doing, I am studying my most favorite topics with my favorite professors. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying myself in seminary, but actually that is like easiest part. That's like holiday. And when I go, for example, my town to visit my parents or my siblings or cousins or neighbors, that can be where my real education is coming. So God has His own way of educating us. The way He educates is compatible with our humanity. God, more than anyone, knows our humanity, because from Him, He knows how to address our humanity, what our real needs are. God teaches us in harmony with our intellect. It's not God bypasses our intellect or reason or give it little attention. Therefore, intellectual education is very important. We can discuss it another time, but thanks to God, I think already between Catholic and Shia, we agree about important role of reason. So it has to be in harmony with human nature. It has to be harmony with intellect. It certainly gives you some new information. It engages your mind, but it doesn't focus on mind. God is not a teacher who is focusing on your mind. Although He addresses your mind, He keeps your mind also engaged. But where is the focus of God? Heart. In the school of God, it's like a school of formation. What is more important is heart. But not through emotions only, because many people try to engage heart through emotions. But God, at the same time that He engages our emotions, but through intellect and reason, tries to transform the heart. So the best type of understanding is when heart and reason or intellect are in harmony with each other. I'm not saying mind and heart. I'm saying intellect and heart. And the Quran, when it wants to talk about the core of the education, brings the concept of wisdom, Sophia. Many times God says He's teaching the book and wisdom. Some Muslim interpreters of the Quran said wisdom maybe refers to the practical rules or, for example, ethics. But I think not, this is not what is meant. Wisdom is the core of the teaching of the book. The prophets have come with these scriptures to help us to develop wisdom. Wisdom cannot be taught. I can teach, for example, some wise sayings, but I cannot teach you how to become wise unless you yourself make efforts. Wisdom is a gift from God. Wisdom is not a certificate that someone can give you. Wisdom is a gift of God, and this gift is given to the people who engage with their heart and reason in every decision that they make. You need to be working on yourself for a good number of time, days, years, depending on how much of wisdom you want to get, so that God gives you wisdom. So, in the school of God, very much attention is given to intellectual development, transformation of the heart, and reaching wisdom, which then brings virtues. I have a list of the virtues which are very important, but I leave this discussion aside. Another thing which in the school of God is very important is that everything should be with centrality of the truth. The truth is the most fundamental thing. And God Himself is the absolute truth. We have very beautiful verse in the Quran which says that the reason you should worship God and not idols is because God is the truth and they are false. ذَلِكَ بَأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقِّ وَأَنَّمَا يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ الْبَاطِلِ. God doesn't say you have to worship me or serve me because I am telling you or because I created you. No, he goes much further. He says, because I am the truth. So it means to be the truth makes God God. Not that, we have to listen to God and then it becomes the truth. So God is the absolute truth. And we as believers should be always seeking the truth. I believe that the most fundamental value is seeking the truth. And I can argue that everything else goes back to this. Humility, gratitude, kindness, love, everything in my view goes back to seeking the truth. So, when you have a system of education that God is the authority who has created all of us, and in this education common humanity is considered, intellect is considered, absolute truth is considered, wisdom is considered, what would be then the result? The result would be that this school would graduate people who are unity oriented. They would be able to see God in everything, in every being, in every relation. You cannot study under God and be a person who causes divisions and separations, let alone wars. You cannot be trained in the school of God and not love, not be generous, not be kind. It's impossible. So a school of God is a school that brings people closer to each other around the common truth. This is the school of God. Okay, now, by looking at people and their qualities, you can understand who has been benefiting more or less from the curriculum and teachers of the school of God. Sometime in a city, by looking at people, you can realize where they have studied. For example, if they are very young people who are very organized, very punctual, very loving, you say, oh, they must have studied in this school. If there are people who are very, rude or, disorganized, you say, oh, maybe they have studied in that school. Yeah? So, we can look at people and say, okay, these are Muslims, these are Christians, these are Jews, or these are Catholics, Protestants, Sunni, Shia. This is one way of classifying, and this is very simple and not very useful. Go to the depths of their reality. Are they loving people or not? Are they caring people or not? Are they truth-seeking people or not? Are they truth-centered or not? Are they working for unity or not? This is the main thing. On the surface, there can be anything. But the reality is this: God is not going to ask us on the day of judgment, are you a Muslim or Christian or Jew only? This is a very simple question. God is going to ask us, did you show love to your fellow human beings? Were you truthful? Were you honest? Did you work for unity, or you were working for division? Did you create peace or war? These are the most important questions. And we as Muslims and Christians are supposed to do these things. Not that, we just say, okay, we were busy with being Muslim and Christian. It has to have some fruits. It has to have some consequences. So, now I want to a little bit take distance from the theological aspect and say about our relation with Focolare. And now I understand this better than before. So, although whatever I'm going to say, I was involved, but now I can have a better understanding of what we were doing. So when I came to know about Focolare, this is 1997, 98, I saw they are very much interested and committed to God and love for the sake of God and unity. This attracted me. Therefore, I tried to know more about them. I tried to visit Focolare in different cities in the UK. I tried to visit them in different countries. I came to Italy. I came to Loppiano in 99 the first time. Why? Did anyone tell me to do this? No. Did I have any training, any mandate? No. Did I attend any week of unity? No. I just felt in my heart and checked with my intellect that this is something that has the flavor of God. This is something that cannot be work of anyone other than God. Yeah? So I was interested. I was not in that part of the school of God. Yeah? But I could sense that this is the same school, that I am trying to be there. This is the same Lord, the same educator. And I was not distracted by the fact that they are not Muslims, or they are not Eastern, for example, or Asian, or etc. And then what happened, I said, I shouldn't just keep this to myself. I should introduce also my friends and my students to this part of the school of God. So I tried talking about Focolare. I tried, to bring groups from Iran to Italy. In 2010, I brought a group of PhD students from Com to Italy. For the first time, we met with Roberto. Then we came for a few days to Loppiano. Then we brought a group of ladies here for the first time. Then a group of 6 of them for a month. Then from 2017, we started taking groups to Mariapolis in Monte, then Mariapolis Piero, then Mariapolis Ginetta, Mariapolis Leo, Mariapolis Santa Maria, Welling Garden. And each of them also, we kept going unless they were closed. Like unfortunately, Monte was closed, but otherwise, we don't go just once, we try to go. So what I have been doing, I have been doing something inside the school of God, that you take your students to visit other parts of the school and see what other teachers have been doing, what progress they have made, and make friendship. Also, I invited Focolare to come to Iran, and we had, for example, in the UK, lots of, regular meetings. Also, we started inviting Focolare to teach about their spirituality to our people. And then we took a big decision 2 years ago. In addition to introducing them to Focolare, in addition to teaching some subjects about dialogue and unity to our seminarians, 2 years ago in December here, when we were having meal, I shared an idea, and then we embarked on that journey, and that was to train some seminarians, especially for dialogue with the Catholic Church, and particular Focolare. It's not now part of their education. Now they are specializing in this. And we said they should learn Italian. Okay? So we started planning from December 2023. And now, thanks to God, you see them, now they are able to speak Italian. They know Focolare, they know Gospels, and it's not that just they know, they love and admire Christianity and Focolare spirituality. Some of them were here last year for a month, another group again for a month. The group which was here last year, now they have come for 2 weeks for a follow-up. So for the first time in the history, apart from me and Shahnaz and Isra, 16 seminarians are here from Qom. I don't think from any part of Muslim world there have been ever a group of 16 people who come prepared and loving and admiring Christianity and Focolare. This is a great achievement. This is a great result of God's plan for unity. So we are already in the school of God. In the school of God, many people don't know they are already in the school of God. Yeah, but we are already in the school of God. And thanks to God, we are able to see that God is at work. I don't see God as work only in Shia community or in Muslim community. I see God at work based on characteristics that I listed. When I see there is wisdom, there is rationality, when there is unity, this is the school of God. Whatever they call it, I know this is from God. Even if they don't believe in God, sometimes you see God has gifted them with something. Maybe they think it's not God, but I know this is only from God. Because without God, there cannot be any unity. So, now, what is the next step? This is very important for us. Thanks to God, we already have made great success. We have already 10 years ago passed the level of dialogue. It's now 10 years that we are in unity. We have trust, we have love. But I think now is the time that we work together for making a concrete model, very small, very humble, replica of the school of God, where Muslims and Christians who are committed to unity, who have no sense of selfishness or ego, they don't have any self-interest, just they want to be instruments for God. With unity, they create an environment that other people can more easily be educated by God for unity. If you have unity, you have everything else. Unity is a name that brings all other good things. So, we are not thinking of having another university or another, seminary. If you want to make a replica of the school of God, as I said, it has to be a whole environment at the service of education. Part of it would be a university or seminary, but greater part of it would be living together, not as guests or travelers or tourists, really living together and facing together all the challenges of life. This is why I say, if you want to have the replica of the School of God, it has to be in a Mariapolis center, because we want to have the whole life as our curriculum, not just classrooms. It has to be certainly in a Mariapolis center, but also it has to have some official teaching. So, like a place like Sophia, but in the home of Lo Piano, not without Lo Piano and not without Sophia, but together. And then we should have 2 programs. One program would be exclusive or distinct. For example, if a Muslim comes here, I should prepare him by teaching him pure and authentic Islamic teachings. If a Christian comes, we should offer them pure and authentic Christian teaching. Doctrines, practices, whatever, everything should be authentic. This can take few hours every day, every week. But then, the greater part is what? Is not what is exclusive. The greater part, which is transformation of the heart, developing love, becoming a true image of God, is what we can do together. If I want my seminarians to learn how to live together with unity, I don't need to have Muslim formators. I can have Focolare formators. Because if you look at formation of a human being, the most part is not doctrines. The most important part is the art of living together and loving each other. And here we are very common. So we were talking, of course these numbers are not very fixed, that actually maybe 80% of God's education is not exclusive, it's common. 20% can be different. The main part is the same. When it comes to change of heart, when it comes to loving, it's the same. So we hope that we can bring this idea of the School of God into a concrete model, replica, in one of the Mariapolis centers. Maybe here, Lo Piano, maybe Mariapolis Piero, maybe in Brazil, maybe all of them. But certainly I think this is the way forward. And I think actually this is what these Mariapolis centers were waiting to give birth. I think they were, preparing themselves to give birth to such idea. And this would be the step for reaching a united world. And many people then can come and be educated and then become voices, instruments, ambassadors for unity, for peace, for love. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.